What's going on, everybody? It is Monday, July 26th. It's 6:15 p.m. We're a little bit earlier than usual. And look, we said we're going to bring more content. So here we are with the Free as Fuck podcast, episode 16 with Marshall Holmes.
Damn.
Look,
Never thought we'd make it to 16.
16. That's where we're at. Marshall has decided to give up the bowl.
Oh, that's a gut punch, buddy.
It's a gut punch. He's giving up the bowl. So the El Toro has been put back in the pen.
Yeah.
And we're going to see if we can just have Marshall minus the El Toro.
Yeah.
And we can stay on topic.
We'll stay on top.
So if you have some topics that you want us to talk about, definitely throw them in the chat. As always, we'll leave a comment in the video and we'll get to them on the next show. And if you want to join the chat, you can do so in the YouTube chat bar here. You can also do it via Zoom if you'd like. We can make that happen. And that'll be a good time. And if you'd like to support the podcast, check out the link below for TMF Apparel USA, which is my clothing brand and company we make. Marshall is actually wearing the Free as Fuck t-shirt.
I'll be wearing a...
There we go.
From now on, instead of a yellow shirt, I'll be wearing some version of the Free as Fuck. I'm even going to take this one home. This is the other one that you made me.
Yep.
This is the mulleted stickmen.
That's
fucking
right.
censorship.
Fucking censorship.
I don't know.
Fuck censorship.
You know, I can see that.
Bam. They got mullets, man.
I do like the mullets. I'm taking a much better look at them. And we'll see. I might even wear that out in public one day and just kind of see what kind of...
I think people will
stares
like
I
it.
get.
I think people will like it.
I get
They'll be
stares.
like, man.
I get stares no matter where I go.
What's up? Yeah, Big Boy Prince. That one is not DTF. That one I did DTG on. I just DTG'd. Wait, maybe I did DTF it. No, I think I did DTF that one because I don't remember, honestly. I do both. Look, man, the DTF's all right. I see guys online posting about it, and I got mixed results on it. But you know, the Free as Fuck one is DTG printed. So we have got
All right,
some topics.
Got some topics. You have some.
I honestly, I don't know if I have any
All right,
topics that are
fine.
really that
plenty.
great.
I got plenty. Here's what I want to do. This is where I'd like to start.
Right. Okay.
As everyone is probably aware, I now am no longer homeless. So I have a TV. So I'm able to watch TV all day. And yesterday I was off work. So I had a whole day of nothing but Fox News. Sunday, Fox News. And this is what I think of the world. Nobody's trying to solve anything right now. Everybody's complaining. Everybody. I'm listening to people complaining about violent crime. I'm listening to people complaining about the $300 check that makes it so hard apparently to hire new people. I'm listening to people complain about wearing a mask again because some people are worried about wearing a mask.
Right.
I'm listening to nothing but problems. I'm not hearing any solutions. Nothing. And I don't believe that that's true. I believe there are solutions. I believe the people that are yelling the most about the problems in America don't want to solve anything. I don't think they have any interest in solving anything. They make their money talking about the problems, not talking about the solutions. They don't want to solve them. When is the last time we had a major problem in America that was fixed? There's people right now that won't even watch the fucking Olympics because they're so mad at America, and they're Americans.
Well, yeah. I mean, no, there's definitely. Look, man. Even Tom said in his song, "The people that hate America the most are Americans."
Right.
I mean, that is a very factual statement.
And I remember a time in my life when it was not like that. I can remember when, as a group, there could be an event. You know, we weren't always in agreement on everything, but there could be something that came up. I can remember 2 times in my life when I felt like America was unified. And one was when we beat the Russians in hockey, which we've already discussed. And the other time was when the guys came back from Desert Storm. We had just kicked ass in a war. We hadn't done that in a while. We had, people felt like we lost Vietnam. People felt like the Russians were kind of making us look weak. And we went over in Desert Storm and kind of threw around some bad guys, and they went running fast as we showed up. And everybody came back home and was in pretty good shape. Not too many of them got hurt. Whitney Houston sang God bless him, it's our Star Spangled Banner at the Super Bowl, and everybody was like, "Man, this is fucking America," and we don't have that right now. We don't have that anymore.
Right.
And I'd like to see us solve some problems and start coming together again, because that's when we're at our best.
Yeah, it is. The common denominator for me is identity politics. It's you never see a story that doesn't start with an identity in front of whatever the story is. Just like me and you were talking before the show, when you said, they on the news they say liberal cities, Republican cities, Democratic cities. It's never just Chicago, Baltimore,
Right.
Atlanta.
Right.
It's like
Right.
they have to put a descriptor in front of it. They put a divider, and when they say something like that, it divides people instantaneously.
Before they even listen to what the story is about.
Right. And my thing has always been, unless you are describing somebody as to a T, like there's no reason to say a white man. Honestly, they almost never say a white man did something on the news, but they always say a black man did something on the news. They hardly ever say the perpetrator is a white guy. It's like, but they go out of their way to show other race and nationalities.
Well, I think the point of the news is to divide people. It's to express a specific opinion, one way or the other, and get the people that are listening to be angry at the other side. It does not seem that they're trying to give any news. It seems that they're just trying to keep people at each other's throats.
There is a good. I was watching. I think maybe it was Ben Shapiro. I think I listened to a Ben Shapiro clip, if I'm not mistaken. He was talking about how the social media algorithm divided the country and got rampantly out of control. So basically what they would do is when they built the algorithm, it was to put stuff in front of you that you wanted to see. And how it affected the world was that it didn't distinguish between things that you wanted to see and things that you interacted with. The more you engaged with something, the more it showed you. And where the algorithm went completely off track, especially on Facebook, is something pops up and you go, I don't like that at all. I need to say something. And you engage. And now the more you engage, the more it puts the thing you don't like in front of your face. That is what happened from 2012 to 2016.
So is that just when you interact with something on Facebook, or is that when you interact with anything online at all?
Currently, right now, it's most things online. Most of them use these same algorithms and the same AI learning.
Because I will say this is how weird it is to me. Maybe I don't know a lot about this shit. I'll be honest with you. This is not my area of expertise, but I will say this. There was a period of time, not 2-3 months ago, right before I got the new catalytic converter in my Jeep, where I thought my Jeep was about done, and I started thinking about getting a new car. Just thinking about it. I really don't feel like I expressed the view verbally to anybody. I don't feel like I talked to anybody about it. I certainly didn't look up new cars. But all of a sudden, I'm just thinking about getting a new car. And when was on Facebook for about 3 weeks, I got nothing but car dealership ads right in front of me. And I was like, how in the fuck did they do that? Did I somehow...
The metrics that Facebook and YouTube and Google and all of these big tech companies use is if you're on Facebook and you scroll, you don't have to click it. If you scroll and you stop, they note how long you stopped on that one thing for. Like it could be a microsecond. Okay, you paid attention, you read the whole thing, kept moving. When I go on my Google News, this is a perfect example. Top stories for you. Still the headlines. These are headlines that I might be interested in. It's a completely different set of news. So what ended up happening around the world is they use these algorithms and they use this information that we don't even realize we're giving them. You're like, well, I'm not telling them I want that. No, but you stopped and looked. You stopped and stared at that new Ford Bronco for about 2.5 seconds. And then you scrolled up and you went right past the Chevy. So we're not really going to show them Chevys. And those little micro things that we do, they track. And
no, for real, because it got to the point, and this was the weird thing. Like I said, I never expressed it verbally at all. I don't think I did a search, but it got to the point where I was, after about 3 weeks, I was getting nothing but Dodge Challenger advertisements. And I wanted to, and I don't even know if I started out wanting a Dodge Challenger, but by the time it was done, I was looking forward to ads for Dodge Challengers. I was like, man, I really like these Dodge Challengers. And I didn't even know what I wasn't really like a big Dodge Challenger fan, but
you need it.
And I feel like I would like to think I'm beyond manipulation.
No.
I would like to think I'm alert enough to be beyond manipulation. I would like to believe that if somebody started manipulating me, I could sense it. But I felt like they were giving me something that made me so happy. I wasn't being manipulated. I was just enjoying something that I enjoyed.
It's the best form.
And now I look back on it and I'm like, man, how did I fall in love with the Dodge Challenger?
There are some really good documentaries about it. One of them is The Social Network. That's not really a documentary. It's more of a movie. Is pretty good. It was like a mockumentary.
No, I saw it.
That was good. Where the kid ends up going to the rallies, and next thing you know, he's getting arrested. I mean, but you watch it, and you go, that's really happening. It's actually happening. And there was I think there was even a part in that movie where they were interviewing the people who were prominent in tech companies, saying if Facebook wanted to alter an election in another country, they could do that. Just by putting stuff in front of the people.
But
subconsciously.
I feel like we do that already.
We do, and we want it. That's the thing is if you see something you don't like, you're more likely to engage with it than something you do like. Like I'll watch it.
We talked about that. That was Howard Stern. That was how Howard Stern became.
And that's it. I mean, and it's now gotten to the point where someone has maybe mild control of it, but for the most part, it runs rampant, and. That. So when you say, we have problems and there's no answers, but they don't need to solve the problem. They just need to make money. They're all money.
Like I said, man, like I was telling you, that to me right now is the void that needs to be filled. What are we looking for? What are we trying to do? If we're not out there trying to solve some of the issues, and dude, we got some serious fucking issues. I mean, things are bad. Things are bad, and you don't even have to. I don't care what your persuasion as far as you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're conservative, liberal. I don't believe in any of that shit. I think it's a bunch of labels that people use to try to control people's thoughts. They want you to pigeonhole yourself. They want you to say, I'm a conservative. And then I feel like the people that I know that identify with those groups, they wait when an issue comes up. They wait to find out what is the conservative opinion, what is the conservative thought on this, and then just follow it blindly without even trying to figure out what they actually think themselves. And I feel like the solutions to these problems are never going to be arrived at, and we're just going to continuously have. There are problems. Not only are there problems that are serious, but there are problems that can be solved. We do not have to have people beating the shit out of people on the sidewalk live every fucking in the middle of the daytime all day long. I mean, that does not need to be happening.
Right.
And I will say this, and I don't give a shit who fucking came up with the idea. I don't know where the fuck it came from. But anybody who said defund, look, I'm as against the cops as you can get. I've been arrested for doing nothing numerous times. So I'm not pro-cop. But whoever said defund the police, that has got to be one of the most moronic fucking things I've ever heard in my entire life. What the fuck you don't need to defund them. We don't need less of them. We need them to do their job the way they're supposed to. That is totally fucking different. Right. And I believe we can shift their priorities. Here's the problem. You've got people that are committing crimes that aren't even the most serious crimes that these guys are spending all their fucking time with. We don't need people down. We don't need a cop. There shouldn't be people beating people up on the sidewalk.
Right.
We should be civilized enough to not have that as a problem. There are people that are enslaving people. There are people that are raping people. There are people that are murdering people.
Trafficking.
There are people that are stealing from all of us.
Right.
They found a legal loophole. That's what the cops should be doing, and that's how they should be spending their time. We have them running around looking for a guy who's shooting bullets in Times Square.
Right. No shit.
The fuck are you doing?
Right.
And I think that the reason they're able to do that right now is because there's no cops around that spot. and they want the attention of pulling out a gun and blowing somebody away.
What do you think? So I've always found it interesting that police work such long shifts. What do you think about that? Like you work in the restaurant industry. Right. I've worked in the restaurant industry. Yeah. And honestly, I could say probably any job, profession, after a certain amount of hours, you're done. You're
what is their shift? What is their shift?
Most of them are 10 to 12 hour shifts.
Well, here's then here's what I would say. Because obviously keeping us alive has got to be the number one priority of us as a country. Keeping each other alive.
Yeah,
protecting each other from death.
Right.
Number one priority. I would say after that, you've got making sure everyone's fed, making sure everyone has a home, making sure everyone's educated. So those are 4 areas. Keep us alive, keep us fed, keep us housed, and keep us educated. We don't pay the cops anything, and we don't fucking pay the teachers anything.
True.
Why? Why can't we change that priority? Why? First of all, and I'm going to say this with all honesty that I can say it. There have been times I have been arrested by the cops, and seriously, I am dealing with undoubtedly the dumbest human being on the face of the fucking earth. No doubt in my mind. An absolute fucking moron. Look, I got arrested by 2 cops in New York for smoking a fucking bowl at, there's some park, Union Square Park. I was in Union Square Park. One of the most famous politically, there's a lot of political shit that happens there. I used to love to go there. Union Square Park. There's always a protest there. There's always some shit going on. I smoked some weed. These 2 motherfuckers that arrested me were so stupid. They did not know how to fill out the fucking form. They looked, when I was a kid, you saw a cop. At least they looked like a fucking, they were fucking buff and they were big and they were fucking, they were intimidating.
Yeah.
These 2 people were complete clowns. Their uniforms didn't fit right. I wasn't even sure they were cops. I was like, are you sure they did not know how to fill out the ticket. I could have run away from them at any time. There would have been nothing they could have done about it. And there I am in one of the biggest areas of the world, smoking a bowl, and I get arrested. They ended up giving me a ticket. It was illegible. You couldn't even read it. I took it to my work the next day. I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Where do I take this? Where do I go? And I had like 5 or 6 people looking at it. They're like, it's illegible. You can't even read it. All right. So we try to take these jobs that are critical. Being a cop, protecting us, teaching us, critical jobs. We're trying to pay them less. Yeah. And for some reason, we are so willing to reward people that do almost nothing, that are scamming us. Why? I don't, that's, when people say to me, what changes should be made? That would be one of the first changes I would make. I would make sure that we're compensating the living. Look, people got mad when they did the COVID relief and they gave bonuses to teachers. And there were people that were mad as shit about it. I saw it on the news. People were like, can you believe in the COVID package they're giving bonuses to teachers? Fucking goddamn right. If there's anybody that's deserved a bonus in my fucking life, I don't even give a shit if they're a terrible teacher. Can you even imagine being a teacher for one fucking day? Showing up in a high school and having to go into a high school and teach a room full of fucking teenagers.
First of all, I'm gonna need you to also understand that job is not the same job. You could be a teacher anywhere. You could be a teacher in the same school, doing the same curriculum, in the same age group. It's not the same job as the person down the hall from you. And on top of that, across the country, dude, like you watch a movie like, I don't know, one of them, Michelle Pfeiffer movie from back in the day.
Dangerous Minds?
Yeah, something like that. Or any of these movies where kids just completely, utterly disrespect the teachers and run the school. Right. Don't give a shit. And
it's got to be worse now.
Real.
It's got to be worse now. It's got to be way worse. Can you even imagine Somebody coming to you and be like, all right, you're going to be a teacher for a day.
There's a show, you could probably find it online somewhere. It was called it was a show where these adults, they were in their like early 20s, they went back to high school. I think it was called like High School High or something. I don't remember. I can look it up. It was on A&E or some shit. So they took people who were like 20, 22, 24. They could kind of pass for like a junior, senior in high school. They sent them back to high school and they filmed it as like a little documentary thing. And they were supposed to be just like new kids in the class and just to see what it's like to go back.
All right.
And because they had been out of high school and they kind of lived somewhat an adult life. Some of them had a decent job, or some of them had, you know, evolved since being in high school. And dude, the amount of utter disrespect toward people is unreal. And you're like, what? Like, that's real. And but then you go to some place that's, you know, not in a nice suburb, and see what those kids do. How they act out. And then you got a teacher who has to deal with that.
And has no authority. They don't back them up. And the kids all know they don't make shit.
Right.
They're the butt of jokes.
They can't do anything.
They can't do anything. They cannot discipline them in any way. And the kids, if they do discipline them, the kids' parents are going to come down to the school and flip out on the fucking school.
Dude, they're going to record them. First of all, they're going to record. How many videos have been recorded of teacher either punishing somebody or getting mad at a student or lashing out at a student? That goes viral. They lose their job instantly.
Done. I mean, how on earth can you even do that job?
Could you imagine?
So that being the case, because we agree. Yeah, that's an awful job.
It's an awful job.
Awful job. I would rather work at Walmart. I would rather go to Walmart and be a stocker of shelves than have to go into a high school classroom full of teenagers and not just control their behavior for an hour, where you're trying to be like, all right, you guys settle down. Just sit here for a second. Let me get you all to just sit down. I don't need it. But then you have to try to teach them things. They've got to, and they're being constantly evaluated.
Right.
On their ability to get this information that these kids have zero desire to learn. They have no attention for it. They do not want to learn it. They do not care about it. They don't give a shit. Yeah. They think they know more than the person that's giving them the information. They think the person that's giving them the information is a complete fucking moron. All of that being the case. And their parents, most of the time, their parents don't give a fuck at all.
Yeah.
And true. So how do we not compensate that? How can anyone, people got mad. I'm not lying about this. They had in some of the relief packages, they gave out some bonuses to some of the teachers. They got mad?
I'll tell you why they got mad.
Yeah, tell me.
They got mad because they wanted to give teachers more money while they didn't have to go to school anymore. And they were doing virtual learning. Now, both my kids did virtual learning. I'll tell you this. My oldest was in sixth grade seventh grade for the virtual learning most of the year, seventh grade. And dude, he was done with his actual, like what his tasks were, 45 minutes. That was the whole day. And he's at school for 8 hours.
Right.
But they gave him 45 minutes of things to look at. My youngest one was in second grade. His curriculum consisted of YouTube videos mainly, followed by short quizzes. I'm talking 5-question quizzes. YouTube videos that are 2.5 to 4 minutes long on average. Very short topical stuff, probably because their attention span is zero. But, you know, his curriculum may have been an hour, maybe.
Right.
You know, and that's if they stumble through some of it. Right. And then you look at it and go, okay. So then people go, oh, but you want to pay the teacher more, but the teacher doesn't have to do anything anymore.
Well,
for a while, first of all, if you're a young teacher, you are a daycare. You're a daycare first.
You're still responsible for them learning things and being prepared.
But people don't realize what it takes to do that. Like, watch some kids. Watch some kids for a couple hours and be like, okay, now multiply those kids by 10 and keep them all together and don't let them die.
You mean by 40, first of all?
Yeah,
by 40.
I'm just saying you got like 3. You multiply it times 10, 30 kids.
All right. So anyway, all right. And then think about what it's like to just have to train a new employee at your job.
Yeah.
One person.
One person.
The boss comes to you. I don't know how many people have been in this situation. In my life, I've been in this situation more times than I wanted to. The boss comes to you and is like, hey, here's Stan. He's a new employee. He's going to be with you for the day. And you're just like, man, fuck. The last thing I want to do is teach this motherfucker anything. And you're talking about a full-grown adult who's eager to learn,
Right?
Because he's got money on the line. He's taking a new job. He's going to absorb what you say, at least to some extent, way more than a high school child. In my opinion, and I've always said this, and my mother was a teacher. She taught first grade. She taught fourth grade. She was my teacher in fourth grade. My brother taught school for a little while. My aunt was a teacher, taught Spanish, high school and Spanish for a long time. And I've always thought, regardless of that, and I thought about it. The reason I didn't go into it, I was like, man, I'd end up getting in fucking trouble. If I went back to high school, I'd be hanging out with the kids, you know. I wouldn't be telling them what not to do. They'd be doing worse shit with me than they'd be doing on their own. So I was like, I ain't going back there. I'll end up being on the news. But in my opinion, and I don't understand why, teachers should be the most well-compensated members of society, period. And if that was the case, how many people do you think right now would be an amazing teacher?
I think
brains filled with knowledge, and they know so much, and they're probably good at relaying that information, but they don't want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I bet that's a lot of
They can't make money. They can't make any money. So we're not getting the best. And I'm not knocking the people that are doing it because I know they're trying as hard as they can.
There was a guy I saw, it was like made like a BuzzFeed article or something. He was a teacher, and then he started doing the grocery delivery on the side where, like, you know, he just goes grocery shopping for people.
Right.
Then he quit the teacher job because he was making more money delivering groceries.
Right. What the fuck is that?
So he lost a teacher because
is that?
he's out there at Publix.
Well, you see, how many times have you heard about a student who's sitting at home and the pizza is delivered to their house and they're like, oh, Mrs. Wilson, I didn't know you were a pizza delivery woman also.
Well,
and they're like, well, I have to do this so that I can buy you guys pens and paper and shit so you can write during the day. I don't want to deliver pizzas. I'd like to be a teacher.
Well, I can
I
tell
went to
you,
college for it.
if you live in California, you have a chance to do something about it. You can vote for Kevin Pathrath, who has an economic and a educational change for the state of California.
That would
put
all of our money.
He wants to put I think the minimum salary was going to be $125,000.
Absolutely.
And he was definitely wants to reform the education, the way we teach people.
It should be. Now, I know this is going to make me sound like a nut, but imagine if we could take the military budget and use it for education. I would love to know what is the comparison right now between our military budget and what do we spend on the military, which, by the way, 95% of those weapons never get used. What do we spend on the military versus what we spend on education?
So the military budget proposal for next year is $715 billion. The United States Department of Education's annual budget, this is from 2016. I'm see if they have is $64 billion. Who do you think?
And I had no previous knowledge of what those numbers were going to look like. Yeah. But are you shocked at all?
10%. No, less than 10%.
Less than 10%
of the military budget.
Of the military budget, less than 10% of the military budget, and we all know. Now people can be like, "Oh, we don't have the military. What the fuck? We're going to get fucking." Look, man, let me tell you something that I know about fighting. Americans know how to fucking fight. Ain't nobody look. We need a couple of bombs that can reach different areas of the world in a few seconds. We do not need all this other shit. We don't, and we look even right now. Look at Cuba. There's people mad as fuck that we're not. Some Cubans protested.
Right.
Some
Not
Cubans
storming
protested, and there's people in America right now that want us to go invade Cuba. They're like, come on, they're in the streets waving American flags. You gotta fucking go invade Cuba. No, we can't. We should encourage them. I want them to be free. Obviously, my desire is for all Cubans to be free. We can't just go invade every country where people are upset about their government.
Right.
We can't do that. We would invade almost every country. We're not happy with our government.
There's not enough sand. Well, there is sand in Cuba, but there's not enough. There's too much sand and water combined. I mean, if they didn't have as much water, if it was just sand, we'd probably go over there. But we need less water around Cuba. And we're like, we'll go there. Look, man, they're already, they're talking about pulling out of Afghanistan. They're going to be back. We'll be back in 6 months.
I don't know, man. We've talked about Afghanistan. We've talked about Afghanistan, but
go back. But that's the same thing. If you go, you can't just go into Cuba with military force and say we're going to change the regime. It didn't work.
It never works.
It's not going to
doesn't work.
The people who you are fighting don't go away,
and they don't like. They can easily convert their fellow countrymen to dislike you worse than they dislike their fellow countrymen.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if somebody invaded us and told us as they were invading us, look, we're just going to get rid of your government and we're going to install a better government that you're going to like better. I mean, man, get the fuck out of here. No, you're not. I will fight you and then I'll talk to my own government on my own. Right. I'll figure out something between me and my government. It's just like family. You know how did you have brothers?
I have 2 brothers.
All right. So when you're growing up and you're a kid, there's nobody you fight harder than your own siblings.
Well, I didn't fight them. They're way older than me. So.
Well, all right. My brother was 2 years older than me. We had a fist fight every day, probably like 10. And we used to punch the shit. We used to hit each other with wood. We used to do all kinds. We used to throw each other off of the roof. We did all kinds of shit. You can do shit to your brother. You realize early on you can do shit to your brother that you could not do to a regular human being. You can literally hit each other with lamps. And he's just like, that's my brother. I can fucking do it. But when you see somebody else fucking with them, you're like, wait a minute, man, don't fuck with my brother. That's my fucking brother. Yeah. I'm not going to let that fucking shit fly.
Only I'm the one who's allowed.
I'm the only one allowed to fucking do that. You ain't calling him that name. That's the name I fucking call him. Shut your fucking mouth. Don't talk that way to my brother. It's the same way with a country. Like we went into Iraq and Saddam Hussein was as bad as they got. Tortured people, killed people, murdered people. Yeah, there were people against him, but there were a lot of people there who were like, I didn't like him, but I definitely don't like y'all coming in here and telling us who our government is going to be. And that's never going to work. And Afghanistan is a crazy situation. And we've talked about it.
Yeah.
But back to my point, we're spending $760 billion on the military. Now, there are people that I hear every day on Fox News that make their biggest argument and their strongest fighting point is against socialism. Our military is completely socialism. That is nothing but socialism. That is $760 billion a year of pure socialism. And here's what I can tell you about where that money goes. It does not go to the fucking soldiers that are fighting.
Oh, no.
Because I was one of them. And when I was in basic training, we made $480 a month. That was our pay when I was on E1 private in basic training in 1985 in Harmony Church at Fort Benning, Georgia, in the 2nd of the 8th Echo Company. We had $480 a month. And the military budget back then, I'm sure, was sky high because Reagan was the fucking president. Right. And he spent everything. That's what he did. He came in and he was just like, we're just going to spend all our money on the military because we're tired of being pushed around by the Russians. All right. So we're spending all this money on this military thing. We don't use them. We don't even use them. Even when we go to a war, we can't drop those kinds of fucking bombs on these places. We got guys down there fighting. We can't blow up our own guys. We drone shoot people and we
I
do
would
that
say
kind of
this
shit.
about a lot of the budget goes to outside contractual companies, right? To replace. Now, I will say this: as much as you don't like Trump, they did replace some shit that was really old.
Right.
So you had to do
right.
that.
Right.
You know, we're in there flying planes that are in boats.
We should have
4 years
updated
old.
technology.
Right.
We should have updated technology.
Yeah.
But but also let's look strategically at where we are located. Above us, we have Canada. Canada ain't doing nothing. Canada has like 3 tanks.
Right.
We're not going to get invaded by Canada. If you live in Canada, you have a mindset of, I'm happy living in an isolated, freezing cold fucking place. I only have to go to work about 1 week out of the year because that's the only time the weather's nice enough to do it. I'm in Canada. That's where all the people, you know what Canada's full of all the guys that didn't want to fight in Vietnam. They didn't want to fight in Vietnam. They went to Canada. They did. That's the truth. They're up there. They stayed up there.
French Canadian, man. My French up there.
My uncle went up there. He didn't want to fight in Vietnam. And finally, I remember being old enough one day to ask my dad. I was like, so Uncle Jeff, he lives in Canada. When did he go to Canada? And he told me, and I was like, so he went up there to avoid the draft. And I was like, was your father disappointed, mad at him? And my dad, who was career Navy, was like, I'm sure that my father was happier that his son was alive than ashamed of him for going to Canada. Which I was actually surprised. My father, a career military man, would even say some shit like that. But we're not getting invaded by Canada. Canada's not coming down here and fighting a war with us.
No.
Mexico's not fighting a war with us. They want to be here. They're all trying to get into our country. They want to be here. They want to live here. They want to be Americans anyway. So strategically, we do not have enemies on our north and south, and on our sides, we have ocean.
Right.
So nobody's invading us. We're not going to get invaded. Somebody might try to shoot us with something. There are countries out there trying to develop. We need to just create a shell around ourselves.
Well, they have that thing over there. Who's got the dome? It's not an actual dome, but it's protected like a dome.
Well,
where they were shooting, it was like real. Yeah, their missile
defense
defense thing over there. I remember what city it was, but they were showing it off because there were missiles being shot at them, and they had these freaking
you gotta be able to
giant weapons shooting.
People are all over the world trying to develop missiles that can hit us. They would like to hit us with some missiles.
The thing about attacking America, even with a missile, is you've got like really 2 points of contact that are important. Well, 3. You've got Washington, where the main political leaders are.
I think a lot of Americans would be okay with Washington.
You've got New York, obviously, and then you have Atlanta. Those are the 3 places.
Why do you think Atlanta would be?
Because CDC is here. That's the main CDC hub is in Atlanta. So if you wanted to unleash some shit, you would blow that place to hell.
All right.
So you could
that being the case, and I know that I'm not saying we don't need a military, but there's definitely some fluff. And I can guarantee you, over the course of American history, more money has been wasted on military spending than on education. And to prioritize what is important to us and what we should be focusing our time, effort, and money on, it should be on education. Whatever needs to be done, it should be our highest priority. Because it is our future. It is literally our future. You are talking about every element of society, how we feed ourselves, how we take care of ourselves, the technology that we're able to enjoy, the amount of labor that we're forced to do. We have already gotten to a point. I don't know if you saw this. There's a video right now of a robot at the Olympics that can shoot a basketball from anywhere on the floor and swishes it 100% of the time.
Is that real?
Absolutely. He can fire a robot at the Olympics.
Would make sense. You could make
and he can make a shot from anywhere on the court. And I'm saying, why do we even need to have jobs anymore if you got fucking robots that can do that shit, man? Obviously, they could grow food for us. Obviously, they could take care of us medically. obviously we could learn from robots. You could have robot teachers.
Who teaches the robot how to do the thing?
You program it, man.
Who programs it? Somebody who knows how to do it.
Somebody
has to know how to do it.
There's a dude somewhere that knows how to do that shit. It's just like when I remember when the fucking pipeline over here got hacked, and everybody was worried because we weren't gonna have any gas.
Yeah, you said there's a dude.
And I was like, look, man, there's a dude out there that can fix that shit. I know. There's always a dude.
Well, there is a dude because there's a dude out there that did that shit. There's a guy there that can undo it.
Yeah, I mean, look,
and let me tell you, he's out there. He doesn't want to do the job.
right. He's not being paid enough. He's not being paid enough. So look, when people try to talk about creating jobs and all this shit, I'm always thinking to myself, well, how did we get in the mindset that the best people? The number one thing I hear about is that people are so worried that a lazy person is going to be able to enjoy their life for 30 seconds. That seems to be the big thing. That's the whole thing with this $300 that everybody gets. They got an extra $300. People are mad as fuck. I hear about that. I watch Fox News. That's on Fox News 3/4 of the day. Is how nobody wants to get a job right now because they got an extra $300. First of all, let me say this. You can't do shit with $300 fucking dollars.
Yeah, you can.
$300 is not enough. What, really? $300? I live in the worst place you could possibly live, slightly above living in my Jeep, and I pay $400 a week for where I live. So I know for a fact that you can't do shit with $300. $300 is giving people a chance to breathe. That's it. So pay teachers number one. They should be that should be number one. And then, I mean, keep us safe amongst ourselves. The cops should be well compensated. I wouldn't have any. The reason the cops suck isn't because their mission is wrong. Their priorities are wrong. They are arresting the wrong people. The reason the cops suck is because we're not getting good ones. We're getting people that just want to be a cop to be a dick. And that's my opinion. I'm going to give you here's my honest opinion from my encounters with cops. They aren't noble warriors who want to go out there and protect people and save them. Some of them are. I've met a handful of them that are. And for those people, thank you. God bless you. No differently than as a military soldier. There were military soldiers who were out there that were fucking great. I was terrible. Every time somebody thanks me for being a soldier, I'm like, don't thank me. I was awful. I was an awful soldier. I was disrespectful. I didn't do my job right. I didn't give a fuck. And I was surrounded by other guys who didn't give a fuck. And I may have made them not give a fuck by the fact that they saw me not giving a fuck, and I convinced them not to give a fuck too.
It's fair.
So I'm saying, let's pay those people the way that they should be paid. Whatever man, I don't.
Well, you know, and to that point, being any kind of law enforcement officer is an extremely dangerous job. It's very dangerous. Yes. And when usually you equate danger to pay.
Right.
Like if you're a crab fisherman, or if you're the guy who gets off the helicopter and fixes the power lines.
And so when you listening to you say
cops,
listening to you say that, listen, right, exactly. What the fuck?
Extremely dangerous job.
Now I listened to this. I listened to this last night. There's this big rant last night by Trey Gowdy. He used to be a senator or a congressman from South Carolina. Now he's a Fox News personality. He's got a show on Sunday night. Trey Gowdy.
Okay.
And last night he's going off about how all the Democrats. One thing he said that he didn't even realize he said that was so shitty. He goes, all the Democrats want to do is defund the police. And he's like, this one Democrat, and there's one, I don't remember her first name, but her last name is Bush. She's like, this was one Democrat named so-and-so Bush, and she wants to defund the police, but she spent $70,000 a year for her own personal policeman. And he's like, let me tell you what I know about what $70,000 can buy you in South Carolina. $70,000 can buy you your own personal policeman 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a year for $70,000. Now, wait a minute. Hold the fuck up. Break that down for me, please, Mr. Gowdy. So you're telling me, first of all, there's 24 hours in a day. If it's an 8-hour shift, that's fucking 3 people working.
Right.
And it's not a 5-day work week. It's a 7-day work week.
Yes.
So now you got basically 4 full-time jobs being paid $70,000. He's claiming you can get 24-hour a day, 7-day a week protection for $70,000. Divide 70,000 by 4. And in his mind, that's good compensation for a person whose job it is to protect your life. Now, I believe if my math is correct, you're probably talking about $17,000 or $18,000 a year, which is about $8 an hour. So in Mr. Gowdy's mind, $8 an hour is justifiable compensation for a person to protect your life. How can you even say that on TV and not realize how fucked up what you're saying is?
I was just thinking as you were saying that, like, you know, if you're a celebrity or somebody important and you're going to hire, how many of them pay a personal security team to go everywhere they go?
Absolutely.
And how much do they pay them? Some of them are paid very well.
$1 million a year?
Yeah, some of them get paid
Yeah, if you're
very well.
if you're a personal security guard for somebody, you're not getting paid $8 an hour.
I want to find someone who has personal security that they pay really well. I want to find a clip of somebody saying defund the police who pays personal security an exorbitant amount of money. That would be great right now, because at
defund
some
the
point
police is one of the most moronic statements you could fucking make.
It is.
That's not what we need to do.
Right. And
That
it's
doesn't
not-
solve anything.
And the other problem with defund the police is that the entire movement isn't about necessarily taking money out of the officers' pockets, but the moniker defund the police is the worst way to describe what they really do want to do. Now, they want less police force. They want less violent cops. The issue isn't with, like you said, it's not that they're all bad. Look, if you get up today and you think, all right, you're going to go work at the Juicy Crab and you're going to serve tables. Your life is mostly not in danger unless someone gets a hold of a knife and wants to just go crazy at the restaurant. Probably not going to happen. Now, you wake up today and you put on your vest, you put on your gear, and you put your gun on, your belt, and you get in your car knowing that you're probably going to interact with somebody who's very unhappy to see you. Or you might even just stumble across someone who's done some shit you're not even there to even address.
Right.
And you walk into a very dangerous, you don't know.
You have a target. You have
let's
a target on your back.
just say you wake up in a good mood and you go to work thinking, I'm going to do some good. I'm going to talk to some people. I'm going to do some good shit. And after about 8.5 hours of dealing with dickheads in the street who are just doing dumb shit, might not even be violent or even criminal activity, just dumb shit because people do it every day.
Right.
At what point are you like, I'm over it? And I've been seeing these TikTok videos of these cops that are like, they're like 30 minutes before your shift ends and they're like sitting in their car and that's like the caption is like 30 minutes, off in 30 minutes and you hear bang, 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 bang. And they just roll the window up, put the seat back. They're like, not today, motherfucker, but that's, how true is that?
Okay, well.
The shift's too long. You get burned out.
I agree.
And you're on a short
6
fuse.
hours.
6 hours.
6 hours is long enough for anybody to fucking, look,
do that job.
any job. I'm saying that should be the work day. I know that for myself, after 6 hours, I'm fucking done. I'm done.
You know what else
My brain is cooked.
Well,
I'm
you know what else
done.
puts people in a really bad mood is the people who get up when it's dark, go to work, leave work when it's dark.
And show back up at home when it's dark.
Yeah, you know how
They're never at home in the light.
Right. That's a lot of people's job, man.
Most people.
You don't get to enjoy it, and then you live for the weekend. And then if it rains on the weekend, you're even more pissed off.
I will just say this. I will say this. That is to me, and I don't know how anybody argues with me. People do argue with me about that. That is the ultimate form of indoctrination. You have been indoctrinated to do that. There's nobody that aspires to live that kind of a life when they're a kid. You do not sit as a kid and go, God, I hope someday I have a job where I barely make enough money so that I have to get up before the sun even comes up. I go to work. I spend my whole day there doing something that's completely unfulfilling. And then at the end of the day, I get to drive home in the dark and then barely have enough energy to put something in a microwave, take a shower, and get up the next day and do it all fucking again. And not only that, I do it 7 days a week. There's no weekend for me. I fucking work every single day of my life. Yeah. And I'm just saying that's indoctrination. How is that different than slavery? How is that different? The fact that you could stop it but don't. The fact that you are mentally, and I'm telling you right now, there's people out there that are so automatically on that they can't even think of deviating from that plan. Oh, and they're too terrified because if they strayed for one day, they have no cushion. They would love. Read Facebook. How many times on Facebook does somebody post something that says, man, I just love to go to the beach for a day and just sit there and do nothing? Why does that have to be a day of your life? Why can't that be our lives? Why can't we enjoy our lives? Why can't we create a world where most of the minutia, the cleaning and the baking, I mean, if you've got a robot that can hit jumpers, then I guarantee you there's a robot out there that can fucking sweep the ground.
Man, it's funny you say that because I'm rewatching Justified. If you probably don't know that show, but it's a great show. And I'm rewatching it with Megan. And people's mentality, there was an episode we watched yesterday, and it had this character, he's a black guy who got out of jail. He was in there for like, I don't know, vehicular homicide or something. So it shows him, he's getting all dressed up, he's got a suit on. He's got his little Furby. He's going to see his kid, and he goes downstairs and there's like a board. He's working. It's like almost like a halfway house rehabilitation center, right? Because he's out on parole or whatever. And the guy running the place, he's like, "Hey, you didn't clean the bathroom, yesterday." And he was like, "Oh, I did the kitchen. I didn't realize. I must have got the day mixed up. I didn't realize. I got my visitation day. I'm going out. He's getting to leave, go see his kid on his birthday. Yeah, well." That's just you making an excuse. You should have done this, but you didn't. You did that. He said, "All right, that's okay. I'm sorry. I'll go do it right now." And then I'll go. I think he says, "No. You're not gonna go do it right now. In fact, you need to learn today." Let me tell you something. That dude beat the brakes off of that man. Went out. He's going to see his kid, not over some dirty ass bathroom because he cleaned the kitchen instead. That dude took his authority to try to put him in a place. And I'm like, how often do you think something like that has happened in real life? He went on a spree. He went out there. He got in a car with a dude he used to know that did some bad shit, ends up shooting that dude in the hand, taking his car, goes on this wild spree because he just wanted to go see his kid and give him a Furby on his birthday.
Why in the world do we create all these barriers between what people would like to be able to do? And most of the things are very reasonable. Usually most people would like to spend time with the people they love. Right. The number one thing that you hear, and I know certainly in my own life, the number one thing that I enjoy is being with my son. I love being with my son. I hardly ever get to be with my son, but I love being with him. It's all I look forward to. It's all I think about. It's all I communicate to him about. I've had so little time that I've spent in my life with my son. It's horrible. But what I've tried to do is create a life for myself so that when he turned 18, which he's now 18, I'm going to get to spend as much time with him as I want. And I feel like that's about to happen. And I wish that would be the case for everybody, because that's what you hear from people, even really, really successful people that are doing something great with their life. They always say when so-and-so resigned as coach of the such and such, or this guy's retiring from acting, or this person is no longer going to be the Secretary of State. This person doesn't want to be the director of the health department anymore. And what do they always say is their reason? I just want to go home and spend some time with my family. Yeah. Because this world that we've created where I'm supposedly this big looked up to person, and I leave every morning at dark, and I show up at home every night at dark. And when I leave in the morning, every member of my family is asleep. And when I get home at night, every member of my family is asleep. I'm just saying we could do better than that. And I believe 6 hours a day. There's no way that you could convince me that we can't get all that we need out of every single person if we all just agree we're like, all right. Because first of all, everyone knows everyone fucks off at work a significant amount of time.
Unless you're at Amazon. They don't put up with that shit.
Well, then you're peeing in a bottle.
Amazon work shift should be 2.5 hours.
But I'm saying we could make it so that there is no Amazon work shift. Amazon is definitely something that can be completely 100% handled by machines.
It's pretty damn close to it.
It's not, you barely need a person there.
You barely need a person. Yeah.
And we're always talking about these, well, it's going to create jobs. I love how the infrastructure thing is going to create jobs. Let me tell you what kind of jobs are going to be created. Paving roads.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, for anybody out there who's excited about their opportunity to pave fucking roads, this is what I'll tell you. You've never fucking paved roads before, because I've paved fucking roads. Paving roads sucks. That is not, I don't give a fuck how much money you're making paving roads. Paving roads is miserable. And you're filthy, you're sweaty, there's no relief in sight. You are paving roads all day long, and you wake up the next day and you're like, I gotta go pave fucking roads.
You're like, how far did we get, boss? They're like, we got about 600 feet. What?
Not far enough.
How far do we got to go? We got to go to Kentucky.
We have a $3 trillion budget to pave these fucking roads. We're about to pave some motherfucking roads. Don't you worry. You're gonna have a job for that. You're gonna have a job till you're dead. You're not gonna. And then I'm just saying, like, I would love to see the world create different.
Well, you know what's interesting is that what you talked to me about earlier is that you want to come up with, you know, we have all these problems. People complain about these problems, and no one has solutions. And when you watch shows like Shark Tank, and people invent stuff, what's the number one thing that makes a product successful or an idea successful? The number one question is, does it solve a problem? And we spend a lot of time in America not giving people even the time of day to stop and think. Like, how many problems do you run into during your day and you go, man, you know what, fix that? And then that idea is gone immediately because you've got other things to do. We don't have time to think about fixing problems.
I'll give you an even better example than that. How many times have you seen something that somebody came up with at a job that you work that does solve a problem? Like, let's say there's some kind of connection that does not stay in place or doesn't whatever, and then somebody at work has figured out a way to make the thing work, to make the thing stay in place or whatever. And then one day there comes a product that does exactly what your friend did with a piece of tape. And you're just like, man, some dude made $1 billion off of this idea that my friend had 10 fucking years ago.
Right.
And all I'm saying is, what I see in Shark Tank is not, does it solve a problem? Can I make money off of it? And it doesn't, those two things are not necessarily mutually exclusive. It could solve a problem, but not make money. They won't invest in it. And so the problem solving idea goes uninvested in.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. That's a very valid point.
And I'm just saying, man, if we took a new look at how we conduct our lives,
right?
You know, reevaluate it. There are places in the world, and every time I mention a place in the world where things are better than they are in the United States, people are always like, "Oh, why don't you just fucking move there?" I don't want to move there. I want to be here. I love America. I want to make America better. I believe that it can be. I believe that being patriotic doesn't mean being blindly obedient to the way things currently are. I believe that being patriotic means I want to see my country be the very best it can possibly be. I know that it's not right now, and I know that it can be. And fortunately, because of the freedoms that I have as an American, I'm able to express those views. I'm able to say that the government sucks. And I'll tell you how bad our government sucks. They do nothing. They have accomplished, I have a list right now of 13 serious fucking problems that we have in America that are just a list I came up with in a matter of minutes, maybe even less than a minute. and they don't solve any of them. None of them. Right now, they're pretending that they're going to solve the infrastructure problem in America. I swear to God, I have listened to them say they're going to solve that problem literally for my entire fucking life. I have listened to it my entire life, listening to them say they're going to fix the infrastructure problem. And first, it's not fixable. It's ongoing. You can't fix it. Infrastructure is a living, breathing, growing thing. Right. It has to be attended to all the fucking time. We'd rather spend $760 billion on a bunch of... Nobody looks at the guys who made that... Out of that $760 billion, there's a handful of people that made a majority of that money.
Yeah, big companies that produce planes, ships. Yeah. I mean, big contracts.
Dick Cheney's company, Halliburton made $40 billion off the first 3 years of the invasion of Iraq.
Yeah, that was pretty scary.
That happened right in front of everybody's face. And then he shot his friend in the face when he went hunting with him. Literally. And that's not even a lie, by the way. The vice president went hunting, drank a few beers, got fucking drunk, and shot his friend in the face with a shotgun. Yeah. And the whole world was like, oh, well, that happens.
It was an accident.
It's not a big deal. Come on, he's an old man. He's an old man with a shotgun and a few beers.
It happens.
No repercussions. Zero. His friend was like, I don't mind. His friend was shrunken on his face.
That wasn't my good side. I'll take pictures from this angle. This is really how I sit. Anyway.
I mean, he was like, he's my buddy. He shot me in the face.
The drive-thru's on the left. I didn't mind.
I shot me in the face.
Yeah.
So, look, man, there's back to what we were saying. I'm saying pay the teachers the most, pay the cops,
firefighters. First responders.
Yeah, firefighters I've always
First
admired.
responders.
I've admired.
Who's going to show up when you're dying in the road.
When you're in trouble.
That person's going
to save your life.
Try to stop you from dying.
How is that not the best compensated person in the world?
How is that not?
How is that? How do we not want that to be the best guy? How do we want a guy fumbling around in a suit that doesn't fit with almost zero training to show up with his gun shaking, he's scared to death. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's first day on the job. Look, man.
Well, how about this? How about this idea behind that? If your life was in danger, right? Someone is trying to harm you in some way, and you call the police. Who do you want to show up? Do you want Tim Kennedy, Army Ranger extraordinaire, UFC fighter to show up and disengage the situation? Yeah. Or do you want the person who saw the ad on the radio or heard the ad on the radio for Gwinnett County hiring $42,000 starting salary, easy job to get?
Saw an ad in the billboard.
I heard that.
It said you had to graduate high school. I almost graduated high school.
Good enough. I heard. I heard. No bullshit. An ad on the radio in the car with Megan one day, talking about the hiring. Like they're having a job fair for Gwinnett County. Oh, you can come get it. Starting pays $42,000. You're going to give you a bonus of $2,000.
You can drive the car home.
Take a car. You don't need it. Take one.
So basically, you get to drive around in a police car and make $21 an hour.
Yeah,
and you're like, fuck it, man. I'm making $18 an hour now. My fucking job. I don't like it that much. What the fuck?
I said that sounds way too easy to get that job. Like, that sounds way too easy.
Right. And think about the scope of responsibilities that goes with that job.
Think about that.
You are responsible for protecting people's fucking lives. Now, granted, most of the time, those guys are sitting around not doing shit.
Right.
And I'm fine with them not doing shit. I'm not
better. If they're not doing shit, then they're doing the job right.
Let's stop.
If someone's doing the job right.
First of all, pretending like the criminal is the guy going 47 in a 35.
Well, there's that. But you could argue this: if you want the police to have less interactions with violent people, stop giving people a reason to be violent with one another. Look, if me and Marshall sit here and have this podcast, and at the end of it, I'm like, you know what, Marshall? I think you should go fuck yourself. And also, I'm going to attack you with this bottle because I didn't like what you said at my show. I don't like red Jeeps parked out in front of my house.
Oh, man.
I don't like them. I hate them.
That's fighting words.
And, if we just stop being dicks to one another,
Right.
then the police won't have a job to do to begin with.
Well,
except show up when you really need
I want them to start arresting the real criminals, the billionaires that are flying up into fucking space while everyone else is starving to death.
That's the FBI's job. As soon as they catch Trump, then they'll go after those people.
I pray to God they do.
And I
That'll be the best. That'll be the best.
I laugh when they were investing. I'm like, at one point during the Trump presidency, I was like, what did the FBI do before Donald Trump was president? Because all they've done is investigate Donald Trump. What did they do? Were they bored? What should they be doing? I don't know.
Pretending like the people that are robbing us blind are not the ones committing crimes.
But I do agree with you. At some point, we have to stop and think, like, for the job that we're giving them. Now, look, if you're out there, and you could argue this, all they do is direct traffic in front of the school. Okay, cool. Who's at school? Your kid. All right, who do you want to make it home today? Your kid. He got on a school bus. Yeah, well, he's just directing traffic. Okay, cool. Well, guess what? There's a cement truck coming down the road, and that guy is having some technical difficulties paying attention, and he smashed into your school bus. Okay, well, that's a far stretch of a scenario, but it's not impossible. And it's not improbable to say that there's 2 school guard cops out there whose job every day it is to make sure that your son or daughter gets on a bus that makes it to school and leaves the school and doesn't get kidnapped and doesn't get and so it's important.
So if those people are being compensated that way as a result of capitalism, which everyone always just uses as the justification for everyone's compensation, they just look at you when you're like, hey man, that's not right. They're like, well, that's capitalism. That's fucking capitalism. That's, those people get paid this much. Those people get paid this much. That's capitalism. First of all, let's be perfectly clear. Teachers, cops, firemen, the military, they are not a result of capitalism. They are not compensated in a free market way. They are compensated directly at that. Our military is socialist. Our police force is socialist. Our teaching force, for the most part, although not completely, there's private education that happens, but they get paid even less.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize that. If you're a private school teacher, you're going to get paid even less than a public school. Public school teachers get paid more than private school teachers. So I don't understand what it would take. Everyone knows this. This is not, we're not, people are not going to watch this and be like, man, that's groundbreaking information.
Right.
We had no idea that the cops were not well compensated. We had no idea that teachers were not well compensated. I've been listening to people talk about teachers not being well compensated all my life. That's why I was stunned when those people got breaks. They got a couple of bucks from the COVID relief. And it was broadcast as the biggest scandal in the history of the fucking country. They're like, can you believe that as a result of the COVID package, there were teachers out there collecting bonuses? How dare they? And I was like, man, who can you think of that would be better suited to get a fucking bonus? Do their job. Give it a shot. You think you could teach? You think you could do better than them? Put on a fucking teacher outfit and go to fucking school one day and walk in there and introduce yourself.
You can argue this.
I am Mr. Holmes.
You can argue this, that when your kid wasn't allowed to go to school anymore, how happy were you to sit at home and try to teach the little bastard how to do math? Because you don't know how to do third grade math, motherfucker.
Right.
Right. Exactly. You don't know how to use apostrophes. I know this. I have Facebook, and you're allowed to post on it. And I know you don't know grammar. Okay, so you need to sit down, or spelling,
or history, or math, or biology.
Yeah.
So Anything.
That's the real truth behind it all. Is we saw firsthand, like, oh man, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I got to go to work. I got to go to my job. You're like, okay, well, who's going to teach your kid? Well, they need to teach them. Okay, well, they're making less than you to do this.
And by the way, just so you know, your kid ain't a fucking angel. Your kid is not going to fucking school and sitting there and saying, feed me knowledge so I can become the best citizen I can fucking become.
There's going to be like 4 or 5 of them out there that love school.
Yeah.
They get valedictorians and shit.
Right.
There's one in every school.
Right. And by the way, most people don't even. Here's the funny thing about valedictorian. Most of the time when they announce the valedictorian, nobody even knows who the fuck that is. Everybody's like, who the fuck is that? I don't even saw that kid.
Some
I
of
didn't
them
even know they went here.
They know.
I didn't even know they fucking went here. I remember every time. Look, I never graduated from a regular high. I graduated from an adult high school after I joined the Army. So I was never adding my own graduation. My graduation ceremony was the woman at the office of the high school I graduated from pressed a button on a tape recorder on her fucking desk and it played Pomp and Circumstance and she gave me my diploma. That was my graduation. But I went to several graduations, friends' graduations. I graduated from college. The valedictorian, nobody ever knows that. Who the fuck is that? I'll tell you why. Because that person's home while you're out partying, while you're a member of the football team, while you're cheerleading, while you're doing all your shit. That person's home studying.
Yeah.
They're not fucking socializing. You don't see them out in the hallway fucking around and doing stupid shit. They're studying. They're learning.
Right.
And I'm glad we have people like that. I'm always grateful. We should all be grateful. Thank you. The kids that win the spelling bee, the spelling bee is not like it used to be. I don't know if you've seen them. Those words don't even look like they're English anymore. They're just impossible fucking words from the first round. Like they start out, like I think they used to be like they'd start off,
xenophobia.
Words. Yeah, all right, I could see that. I could maybe spell. Watch the spelling bee now. I guarantee the average person cannot spell one fucking word on the spelling bee. Not one. These kids are smart. Good.
Yeah, some of them
I
are
want
smart.
them to be.
And some of them are hustlers and hard workers, but that's they're outliers. Right. And I it's funny you say that because I play a Gary Vee clip for when you don't know much about Gary, but he speaks a lot to young people about putting in time and learning stuff and being patient because you don't happen overnight. And he speaks a lot about when he was younger, working in his parents' wine store, and while his friends were out partying, he was at work. And guess what? Maybe you don't have to work. Maybe some of those kids are studying and learning and trying to be the next Elon Musk or the next person out there to do something amazing and change the world. I mean, who knew? Look, you didn't even know who Elon Musk was prior to Tesla, pretty much. You didn't know that he was one of the founders of PayPal and his brother. And, no one even associates Elon Musk with PayPal anymore. And then it's like, what is this? What does it take to really make a difference in the world? What does it take? Does it take can one person really make a difference?
Yes. I'll give you a great example of somebody who can. That little chick in Sweden or whatever.
Oh yeah, there you go, Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, unbelievable.
She's made a theoretical difference. She's not made a physical difference.
Not yet, but she's drawn attention to something that before she came along, people weren't even really talking about it.
Yeah, and where it comes into play is how do you go from talking about it to doing it?
Well, again, I'll say this as clearly as I can. What I hope that we're trying to do, besides. I like to see people enjoy themselves. I like to see people laugh and have a good time. But one of the things you have to realize about laughing and having a good time is you got to be at a certain point in your life to even be able to laugh and have a good time. I see friends when my friends are stressed out, you can't make them laugh. They won't.
That's true.
When they don't have any money or when their bills are due and they're not able to pay them, or when their kids need something and they're not able to get it for them, or something happens in their life, their parents are struggling or whatever, they're stressed and they can't enjoy themselves.
Right.
So, we're lucky to be able to talk about things and hopefully allow people to enjoy their lives for a few minutes. But the truth is, what I really want to be able, I would love to have the impact she's had. I feel like I feel, how could she have accomplished so much and me so little?
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
a fair
I
argument.
mean, she's drawn attention to something. She's definitely had an impact. There's people out there that are doing things as a result of being inspired by her. Maybe not on the governmental level, but definitely on a local level. There are people out there cleaning rivers and streams. There are people out there cleaning beaches. There are people out there trying to clean up the ocean.
How did that happen? How did that even? Does anyone even know? She wrote a paper or something, right? I mean,
No,
how did it start? How did
she
How
start?
did it go
well,
from your?
well,
How did, she's
well,
15.
I don't.
How do you go from
I
being
don't know.
15-year
I
old?
don't know her story. I don't know her what. There's a lot of theories about what was actually behind her versus what she did. But what she did was apparently, and I don't know what country she's from. I feel like Sweden or somewhere like, it's like a Nordic
Switzerland or something. I can look it up.
place. But she decided to launch a one-person strike, and she went down.
Swedish. You're right.
She went down to their local government office or whatever and sat in front of them with a sign that said, "I'm striking for climate change." And then people started posting about her on social media. She was missing school. She was striking, and she got other kids to follow her. And other kids started being like, "I'm striking too." And they started paying attention. And, I feel like if it had been me, they would have made me go back to school. They'd have been like, "You can't just sit here and strike for climate change."
Right.
But she did. And then like I said, there's theories that her parents really were just guiding her to do all this, and they were behind this giant propaganda machine. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah, I mean, think about, like, there was a kid, a 15-year-old kid.
Well, she was 13 when she started.
Are you sure? I got it pulled up. No, it says at age 15, she started spending her school days outside the Swedish parliament to call for stronger action. She's just 15. But think of, like,
But how old is she now then? Because she's been doing this for a while.
that was 2018, so 3 years ago, she should be 18 years
All right,
old.
so she's 18. So she
Right?
was 15.
So
I thought
my
she was-
kid's 13 and a half. So that'd be like him being like, hey,
I'm not
it's-
going to school.
yeah, well, no, she still went to school. She did this after school. It said she spent her school. Well, then, yeah, I mean, she started after school and then, but still, like, think about that. Like, one kid walked outside and was like, "I'm just going to go down
held
there
up a
and
sign.
hold up a sign. And then I'm going to get some friends to do it." And then next thing you know, she's got a freaking Wikipedia page. But that's insane.
Insane.
Think about how crazy
No,
of a concept that is.
I
If Marshall, if you said, "You know what, tomorrow,"
I've done it. I've
Tomorrow-
already done that before.
yeah, but
I've
you
sat
didn't-
out of places with signs.
It didn't work.
No one
Didn't
gave
work.
a shit.
No one gave a shit.
fucking cared.
Imagine you said, "You know what, teachers need $100,000 a year. So tomorrow, instead of going to work, I'm going to get a sign. I'm going to write that on it. I'm just going to go stand outside and hold it." And imagine, like, 6 months from now, teachers get paid more money because you went and did it. But I'll tell you what, they're not going to get paid more money because you're not going to go fucking do that.
Well,
But somebody is. And when they do it, no one cares. Right? It's not like she's the first person to talk
You
about climate
got it.
change.
No.
So why did this one event
I don't know.
happen? It's
I don't know.
insane.
I don't know.
It's wild.
Obviously. Well, all right. So here's the difference. I'll speak in terms of myself. I've been saying the things that I say on this show, I've been saying all my fucking life. I was in the Army. I went in the Army when I was 17. Prior to being in the Army, I was in high school. I can't even tell you over the number of years how many times I've stood in a room full of people and espoused my views to a room full of people, whether it was guys in the Army, whether it was guys that I worked with, whether it was guys that I went to school with, whether it was people I did comedy in front of, sometimes hundreds of people. I mean, I did stand-up comedy on the road for almost 10 years and recorded myself and had it out there. And there's nowhere to put it, by the way. You sent a tape to people.
Right.
If you weren't on TV, there was
nowhere.
nothing else. There was no YouTube. There was no anything. And then even in New York, I mean, yeah, when I did rooms and all this shit, but I spoke in front of large crowds of people and I'd have them chanting at the end about, and I never went up there and talked about bullshit. You know, that's why I left stand up when I was first doing it, because I was up there going, well, you know, it's hard when you get a desk from IKEA. Your wife's like, hey, put it together, and you're like, I can't put it together, and I was like, I can't do this. And so when I went to New York, I talked about the hardest core issues I could think of. Everything. I was talking about terrorism and the fucking the president of Syria, and I was talking about the election. It was at the time between Hillary and Trump, and I talked about police brutality, and I talked about, you know, whatever I could that I thought was the hardest hitting issue of the day, and it never went anywhere. I mean, and people would come up to me and they'd be like, hey man, you need to put all that shit on YouTube. But I didn't know how to put it on YouTube. I didn't know how to record shit on my phone. This is the most highly technical advanced phone I've ever had, is an iPhone 7. And I barely know how to use it. I know how to use like 3 functions on this phone. I'll never forget the first time my son told me what temperature it was outside from looking on his phone. I was blown the fuck, because I was like, well, if we're gonna take Munchie for a walk, I need to know how cold it is outside. Whether I'm gonna, he's like, hold on, and he looked up the temperature, and I was like, you got the temperature off your phone? How in the fuck did you do that? And everyone around me was like, anyone can do that. It's very easy to do that. You could do that if you weren't an idiot. I mean, you know, I didn't grow up with this level of technology. So even this, like what we're doing right now, my friend and I, who was here, Jana, we talked for months about doing a YouTube show. We were like, our conversations are so funny. We should do a YouTube show. And we didn't have any idea how to do a YouTube show. We had a phone. She had a phone, I had a phone. She had a more advanced phone than me. iPhone, whatever the fuck else, X or whatever. We didn't know how to set it up and put it somewhere and capture what we're doing. I mean, look, I'm hoping that as a result of what we're doing, I want to reach her level of fame. Fame and fortune are not important to me. Impact on the world at this point. Honestly, what I aspire to is when I'm dead, I want my son to be able to go, man, my fucking dad was trying. He was trying to make a difference, to make things better. You know, I know things are shitty. Things are shitty. There's a new poll out right now, today. It came out today. 55% of Americans are pessimistic about the future. That sucks. When I hear that, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
Why do you think that is?
Because if you watch the media, you see people getting beaten up on the side of the road. You see immigrants coming through on the southern border, which, by the way, I'll be honest with you, outside of the fact that they might be bringing disease, I don't know what, if they're truly refugees trying to come here to get a good job, who gives a fuck?
So
why do we stop them from coming? Who cares? Come in. Our door's open to me. Come in.
Why don't you
if I live in a
pick
house,
pick what's something that people should look positive to? What's something right now going on, just say in America, in our country, that people should be excited about right now for like a future thing? Like, what's a thing that they should be excited about? Give me one thing.
Excited about?
Yeah, like you look at this. You know what? You look at today and you go, oh man, I can't believe all this happened in the news. But let's get excited about this thing. What's the thing?
Well,
pick one.
The one thing that I know that happens in America that's better than anywhere else in the world is we are so athletically gifted versus other countries.
That's not what I'm talking about.
I know you don't.
That shit don't matter. I want you to get excited about the future. Like when you look at this and you think, all right, what did people used to think? Back in the 80s, they were early 80s, they built Epcot. That was the future. Epcot was the future. It's technology. It's amazing. Now you go to Epcot, and that's history in Disney World, right? So,
well, I mean, this week we just had the space travel of these two guys. I mean,
we did.
We just had guys take off and shoot up in the fucking air and go 60 miles in the air.
And then you know what? You know what we did? We took it away from them. Did you know that? Do you realize that the United States,
They said they weren't.
they said they're not astronauts. So you have two independent billionaires go to lower Earth as far as they can go without having to probably get some kind of other clearance from some people who've never fucking been there to go, yeah, you know what? You were weightless and you could see the whole Earth, but you're not an astronaut. So we took something, and it's an amazing thing to even think about. We took an achievement that these two private individuals did, and we instantly took away the satisfaction they had of doing it. That's crazy.
Right.
Instead of going, hey, you could have said this. You know what? That's as close to being an astronaut as I could ever be. Right. You know, I'm not in the space station. Sure. Because what's the difference between what they did and an astronaut? Astronaut leaves for longer, goes into the space station, it's not doing anything else.
What they said was they were not controlling the craft. So I'm not saying I agree.
Is that
I'm just saying that's what that was the reason that they
crazy.
wouldn't give them that title.
That's so stupid. But it's not even about that. It's about the fact that when you say that 55% of people have a bleak outlook on the future,
sure.
Then I think, all right, well, what do they have to look forward to?
Well, I mean, hopefully what they have to look forward to is that we can create a world that's better than the one that we have right now. And I believe that, you know, I know it sounds stupid, but when I saw that robot shooting baskets, I was like, man, that's fucking amazing. That's absolutely fucking amazing that can happen. Here's what I think. Here's what would really be amazing. And I know that people think this is going to sound completely insane, but what if we removed all of the barriers that we currently have to human achievement? Because all of the barriers that exist.
This would be what would happen immediately.
Some
people are going to die for sure. And it's going to be a necessary death. And that sounds crazy, but the reason that we have all of these barriers is to protect us from ourselves, right? The reason that it took so long for Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson to go up there is because they had to go through all of the barriers to be able to launch.
What if we removed them?
Then we would have people doing things a little bit more, people would take more risks and it would happen faster.
Or we could also unify ourselves and we would cooperate with each other. I think one of the biggest barriers that we always use that prevents, I think of all the achievements that we've prevented because of money.
Money.
How often do we say, well, we can't do that because we can't afford it? Right now, we are about to try to rebuild the roads, bridges, waterways, all that stuff in America. And there are people that are people in leadership positions that are going to try to prevent that from happening because they're saying that we're spending too much money to do it. How fucking dumb is that? That's got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my entire fucking life. There's improving those things and giving ourselves the ability to travel from point A to point B, giving ourselves the ability to drink clean water, giving ourselves the ability to get over a fucking river that we need to get over.
All right, so
it's critical.
Here's a proposal. Then you want an answer. So, in this world, in the future, you say, all right, Marshall. Marshall has an idea. It's going to cost a lot of money. Marshall doesn't have any money. Marshall has a phenomenal idea. So he's going to submit, he's going to come and he's going to talk to some people and he's going to go, look, this is the problem I have. It costs this much money. And they're going to go, okay, we like this idea.
How do we make the money back?
Nope. It doesn't matter. All it matters is it costs this much money. Cool. We're going to do it because we've looked at your idea and we've looked at a bunch of other ideas. Now, some ideas are similar, but this is the best idea. And we're going to go do that. And it doesn't cost Marshall anything. You're just going to do it. And you submit the idea and it solves the problem, right? If you're talking about like, how do we build, look, Dubai has built some 2 giant towers and then put a sky bridge in between them that they built after the fact. How the fuck they even get that up to? I don't know. It's huge, giant. Someone said, hey, I got an idea.
Would you walk on that thing between the 2 buildings?
Fuck, man, they built that shit. So
I'd
walk on it. Why not? Where's it going to go? Shit. People walk on sketchier shit. No, it's built in Dubai. It's not going to collapse. It's not in Miami. It's not in America. It's falling apart in America, dude.
There's
3
people
buildings
asleep
fall
in a
down.
building. There were people asleep in a building not a month ago.
No, not in
Building,
Dubai.
an expensive building, not
It's
some
an
fucking
old building.
rat hole.
Man, it was old.
Hey, they were selling those fucking things for $1 million a pop. And it was not some inner city fucking bullshit.
I
Those
hear
were a
ya.
bunch of rich ass fucking people living in their rich ass
Nice
fucking
condos.
houses.
What I'm saying is that you want to give someone something to look forward to, and you make a valid point that when you think about like, all right, what do we got to look forward to in the future of our country? What are we looking forward to?
Well-
Right now, we're looking forward to like maybe in 2.5 years we won't be looking at Joe Biden.
We're dicking around.
We're
with the
dicking
fact
around.
that we're gonna try to raise the minimum wage from
Well, there's that.
$7 a fucking hour.
And think
Can
about
you even fucking believe it's 2021 and it is legally acceptable for you to hire somebody to work at your company and pay them $7.25 an hour? Can you fucking believe? And by the way, the reason it's still legal to do that is because the dumbass fucking people who make about $12 to $15 an hour are mad as fuck at the prospect of somebody flipping fucking burgers making the same amount that they do, not even realizing that as soon as they raise that wage for that job, that they're going to get a raise as well. But it so angers them that person is going to make $12 to $15 an hour doing that job. They're the ones standing in the way. It's not the people that are going to have to pay it, because ultimately the people that are going to have to pay it know that they can pay it. They know they can afford to pay the people more. It's being done. Most places now are raising that wage without being forced to legally because they can. They can do it. McDonald's is giving you $50 to show up for an interview, not because they are scraping together the $50. They had the $50 all along.
Right.
They could have been doing that from the beginning. They didn't do it because they didn't have to. And now they have to. Tough fucking shit. When I hear these people complaining about people having to, can you believe they have to pay people $50 an hour to go to an interview? I'm like, dude, why do you care? Why do you give a shit? It would help you if they made more money. You would make more money. You're mad at them.
it's an
People are
ever-evolving
so
inflation.
brainwashed into believing that the world has to be the way that it is, and it doesn't.
I think that the reason that people get mad about it is because inherently we have told ourselves that the people doing these jobs are not worth that to begin with. They're
Right.
lazy. They don't want to do this. And so we clump it all together.
doubt.
I mean,
No doubt.
that's
Sure
very,
they will.
yeah, that's 100%.
Definitely why.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're like, oh, that person doesn't want to fucking work. You got a shit job. They're lazy. They want to sit at home all day, play video games, whatever. Like, what you do in your off time is none of my damn business. I don't care what you do. And if you want to sit at home and play video games all night long, fantastic. If you want to do nothing at all, fantastic. You know, if you want to show up to work,
love to
and
do
this is what the problem is, that you see people that show up to work and do the bare minimum that the job requires or less, and then you're mad because they're making more money. Well, here's the thing: they're working the bare minimum because $7 an hour equates to how much a minute? Are they even doing? And they don't want to do the job. They need some sort of job.
All right.
You pay the bare minimum. You get the bare minimum.
Let me say this. Let me say this to anybody out there who's against somebody making $27.25 an hour. I would say this. I would honestly, this would be my advice. Take one day out of your life and go get a job that pays $7.25 an hour. Go do it for one day. I would be willing to bet you most people couldn't make it through 1 hour of that job. By the time they got to the end of the first hour, they would be like, I'm out of here. I'm not putting up with this bullshit. I remember, and I don't want to age myself and sound like I remember back. First job I ever got was $3.35 an hour. That's what minimum wage was when I got my first job. I got fired at the end of the first day. And the guy was like, I went up to him. I was like, hey, when should I come back? You know what the job was? I was working in the basement of a German bakery. We were 3 floors below earth. There was a German guy in there screaming at me at the top of his lungs in German while I had a mountain of fucking pots and pans that I was supposed to be scrubbing and was apparently not scrubbing properly. It was the first job I ever had. I was 16 years old. My friend was like, hey man, I can hook you up with a job. You can make $3.35 an hour. I was like, $3.35 an hour? Fuck yeah, I can't wait to do it. And I went there and I did the job. And I did the best I could. And I'm not an idiot. I did my best. I was washing pots. I was washing them. And at the end of the day, I go up to the guy and I was like, so when should I come back? And he's like, I don't need you to come back. And it was supposed to be this big humiliation for me. I was in front of all the other employees. He was like, I don't need you to come back. He's like, you're just here for the money. And I was like, what the fuck else would I be here for? Look where I am. I am in the basement of a German bakery. Why? I'm not here for the glory. I'm not here for the fame. I'm not here for the recognition. I'm here for the $3.35 an hour. And that's all you're getting out of me. So I would just say to anybody that thinks the guys who make $7.25 an hour don't deserve a fucking raise, go do a job for $7.25 an hour. Go work the job. Go find yourself take a day off of work. You're so motivated. You're so not lazy. You're such a highly industrious fucking person. Go out and get a job making $7.25 an hour. And you're going to have to look hard for a job that pays that now, because even places that want to pay $7.25 can't, because most people will not accept that job. And then go see what you're going to have to do for $7.25 an hour. You're not going to last 10 fucking minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
You won't. You won't want to do it. Whatever it is, you won't want to do it, because if you're desperate enough to take a job for $7.25 an hour, you have no choice. And so they're going to give you the shittiest fucking responsibility you could possibly have. And they do not care about you. I don't even make $7.25 an hour. They pay me $2.15 an hour at my fucking job. $2.15 an hour is all that my employer is required to pay me.
Now, let me ask you this. As someone who's worked in the restaurant business and done that job, and every job you can do in a restaurant, honestly, I've done them all. Being paid $2.15 an hour and then tips made me the hardest working server that you could find in the building. When I worked at a place called Jillian's, it was like Dave & Buster's ended up buying them out eventually. But I worked in there and I got this job and I was 20, 21 years old, somewhere around there. And I started working there, and they had 3 sections. They had a game room, the dining room, and then the billiards bowling area, right? And I worked they started everyone off in the dining room because it was the most traditional place. You sit down, they bring you, it was real easy. People would hang out there. The game room was more chaotic because people got up and went around, played games and stuff. There was less tables in the game room, but the turnover rate was higher. And then they'd have, birthday parties would be in the game room. Now bowling is where the chicks tended to work mostly. I didn't really like bowling and billiards too much, but the game room is where I wanted to be, because I knew if I got in that game room, there was only 3 servers in that game room.
Yeah.
And when I got there, my goal, I would get there at 11 a.m. Saturday morning. I'm going to work till 2:30 in the morning. My goal in the server in the game room was to get whoever else is working with me, I wanted them to leave as early as fucking possible. Sure. Yeah. And I was like, I can serve all of these people myself. And I was very good at it. I worked my ass off to get every tip that I could get and do the best fucking job I could, because I'm $2.15. I didn't get a paycheck. I didn't care about that shit.
Right.
But I knew one thing: I'm gonna work as hard as fucking possible. And if you had a server there that I only made $30 today, I'm like, dude, I made like $300 fucking bucks, $400.
No, I
Or then we had party season, bro.
Right.
Sign me up, whatever they are. I'll do all of them. Like however many I can work. Let's go, because I knew I'm gonna make X dollars.
No doubt.
Made me a hard worker. But then there was people who, there was always a person who showed up to that 4 o'clock shift that wants to go home at 4:35. Yeah, and you're like, cool, it's not the job for you.
Right.
So, I get the
I'll just say this. You texted me about your friend that wants to work
there.
Here, and I didn't get into too much detail because over the phone it would take too much detail. Here's what I would say even about where I work. As a server, there are servers out there, and they base everything on the fact that they want to make 20% and more. Where I work, I make between 7 and 10%. And some people cannot handle that mentally. But I make 7 to 10%. And the checks are almost always, even for just two people, over $100.
Right.
And to me, I don't give a shit at the end of the shift what my percentage is. I don't calculate it anymore because it's too depressing. I look at the total amount that I leave with. And the total amount that I leave with is insane.
Right.
It's literally anywhere from a shit shift is $200. A good shift is $300. And if I have a phenomenal shift, I'm making between $400 and $500 on that shift. I'm making $1,600 to $1,700 to $2,000 a week in cash. That's what I'm leaving with. That's not my pre-tax money. That's what I'm walking out the door with without straining myself. I'm working 7 shifts this week. I'll make close to $2,000 by Sunday. But I don't get. There are people that I work with that can't get over that thing of getting a 0 or getting 5 on 100 or getting. I don't let it affect me mentally at all. I'm going to give you my all, and if I don't get the percentage, it's gonna add to my total, and I'm gonna burn you out, and I'm gonna get. And so your friend that's coming, that's the reason why I don't advise Jana to come there. Jana's a great server. She's a bartender. She is a phenomenal worker. We worked together for 2 years together. I know her really, really well. But the not 20% would fuck with her head.
Yeah. See, when I served tables, I didn't care about. I looked at the overall sales numbers. How much? If you're right, so you're looking. Go all right. Well, if I can get to $1,500 to $2,000 on this shift in overall sales, I'm doing fine because the average is well you're going to get a table that stiffs you on $200.
Here's what you got to know about where I work. Here's what you need. You got to hit 2,000, and if you want to have a good day, you got to hit 3, and that's not in a day. That's in a shift.
Right.
Now, if I was at a traditional place and I was hitting 3,000 in sales, I won't be walking with $600. But to be where I am, for me to hit, I hit 3,000. I'm gonna walk with 350 to 400. And people are like, man, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. I worked a place where I was working a double, making $5.
Right. Yeah.
So
and that's the real world, man.
Don't fucking tell me.
Where I was going with that is that they pay you $2.15 an hour. But it's up to you as to how much money you actually make at the end of the day.
That's why I love it.
And so, in a way, I always argue that everyone should serve tables. Just like if you can argue that everyone should go in the military. Everyone should be a server. Everyone should be in that position.
Because there's some people that come in that clearly do not understand.
They do not understand.
They do not understand what you're and
make you a hustler though. It can really make you a hustler. What makes people less of a hustler is being comfortable, knowing that I get this job. Look, salaries make people very comfortable.
My son being in college is it's a game changer. For me.
It's a motivator. But for people who have a salary job, it's a very comfortable position. They don't have the drive to work harder. Yeah. Like, I'm going to get paid. If I don't show up today, if I don't do a lot today.
Take the day off. I could go golf tomorrow afternoon.
I once told a guy, I grew up with him kind of, from like middle school on through like high school. And he worked for me years later. I ran into him, and he wasn't doing all that great in life. He was a very talented person. I mean, very talented fabricator, welder, installer, everything. And I was like, I know he could do me a favor by working for me. I know that he could build some cool shit together. And we did. We built some cool shit together. And at one point, I said, hey, do you want me to just pay you like coming here for the hourly, or what if I just pay you for everything that you build, like a percentage? And what did he say? Just give me the hourly. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I could pay you, if I sell this item for $400, I could pay you $100 to make this thing. And if you want to make 10 of them today, I'll pay you $1,000. Or you can work 8 hours and walk out of here with $130.
Some people want that
comfort.
Hourly amount. Well, I'll say this too. This is funny because we were looking at there's an ad on the tables of our restaurant attempting to hire people.
Right.
And it lists the different salaries for the different positions in the restaurant. And for the general manager, it says 100,000 plus. Assistant manager, 65,000 plus. Kitchen 13, host 13, and then it says server 25 an hour. And there are people that I work with who looked at them and they're like, 25 an hour? We don't make 25 an hour. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't make 25 an hour. I make like $50 an hour here. And they're like, you don't make $50 an hour. I said, well, let me break it down to you. A night shift on a Friday or a Saturday night is an 8-hour shift. I'm working from 4 until 12. So I'm working 8 hours. I'm going to walk out of here with $400 on that shift. Cash. That's $50 an hour.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I don't want to make that. And I'm like, well, I don't know why, because I don't prioritize my section. I don't get great sections. I get the section they give me. I get the hours they give me. I don't manipulate my schedule. I don't manipulate my days that I work. I get whatever I have and I go out of there. I worked today, a lunch. What's today? Monday?
Monday.
I worked a Monday lunch. I was there from noon until 4. I walked out of there with $120 and I worked 4 hours. 4 hours. So what is that? That's $30.
$30.
That's a Monday lunch. That's
Right.
not some crazy shift. Everyone knows it varies. You don't make 50 every time you work.
Right.
But and I didn't. There was nothing crazy about my day. I didn't get any big parties. I had no grats. You know, sometimes you can grat tables. If it's 6 or more people, you can grat them. I had no grats.
You know where she got spoiled? Strip clubs.
Oh, is that
She
Holly?
can't. Yeah. She
So
worked
is
as a
she gonna
bartender.
come? Well-
She's going tomorrow. She's going to go to the open house thing tomorrow. She filled out the application.
Okay.
I mean, she doesn't want to go back.
They hired like 5 people today.
She doesn't want to go
They'll
back
hire.
to the club.
They'll hire.
She's working at a bar now in Duluth, and she's not making much money. They're just not busy, you know. And she was working up at the lake.
We're
and-
busy as shit.
and that, but the thing is, she's like, oh, you know, I've known a lot of people that worked at adult clubs, and it's hard to walk away from that money. I'm like, yeah, when you just have a random person walk in and throw $1,000 in the air, and whatever lands on the other side of your bar, you get to keep for doing zero anything, or you just have a guy who wants to come in there and tip you $500 for no reason. Sure, but that's not the real world. You can't do that job forever, and that job takes a toll on you.
Well, not only that, you know,
But it's
one thing
spoiled
I can tell you about chicks that have been doing that, the window for making that kind of money is very narrow.
Yeah, don't last forever. That's for damn sure.
It gets to the point where there's a new girl they want to give the $1,000 to.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I gave you my 1,000 last week. I'm giving my 1,000 to her now. You know, and that's the reality of the world. I wish it wasn't like that. I'm a guy. I certainly never benefited from that. Nobody's ever paid me based on my looks. Nobody's ever paid me based on my personality.
How do you feel if a lot of jobs went to pay by performance? How would you feel about that?
I mean,
Because that's how you make your money.
sure.
By
I've
performance.
got to be a great server.
You've got to at least be above
nobody
average.
Nobody is thrilled to see me walk up to the table. You know, he's like, oh yeah,
I'll tell you that, Jacob.
we got this guy.
I told Jacob, I said, Marshall, he works in a restaurant. He goes, what does he do there? Like a cook or some shit?
said
He
that?
wash dishes. Jacob, my buddy Jacob. He's like, probably wash dishes or something. I'm like, I mean, he's a server. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, he's like, it doesn't seem like he'd be a server. I'm like, that's probably what every single person thinks when he walks up. He's like, the guy, we got the mullet guy. We got the mullet guy is our server.
People, no, it's for real. Now I walk up. If they're there for the first time, that means they've never even been in the restaurant. If they've been in the restaurant before, they've seen me. They're
Right.
going to know who I am. They're going to know that I'm there because I'm the only white person that works. I'm the only guy server. I think there might be one other right now, and I am. The manager is white, and like 2 other people that work there are white, and all the customers are black. All the employees are black. And I love that environment because I can learn so much. I love listening to the people that I work with. I love listening to their experiences. They're so open about everything. They talk about everything all the time. And I don't stand out. When I work at a place with all white people, my hairstyle stands out. My demeanor stands out. My behavior stands out. I am scrutinized. Here, they barely pay attention to me.
Right.
I'm not the craziest person in there, even close. There's people with, everyone where I work with comes in with a completely brand new hairstyle every week that is long and braided and sticking out and wrapped up and all kinds of shit. They don't notice the mullet. The mullet, if I work around a bunch of white people, that's all they talk every day. They're like, you got a mullet. You got a mullet. These people don't give a fuck about a mullet. A mullet doesn't even register on the fucking thing. Somebody is coming in with a brand new outrageous hairstyle every fucking day at my job. So look, if your friend comes in, I will do what I have no pull there. I have no, they'll hire her because they literally hire every single person that applies.
Good.
They need people there. We are busy as crap. People love the juicy crab. They are addicted. We joke around about the fact that the people that come in there, they would rather come to the juicy crab than pay their bills. They'd be like, should we pay the rent or go to the juicy crab? Fuck it. Let's go to the juicy crab. We can always get a new apartment. We can always fucking move. But
right.
They love it. And so they're not they're not generous with the tips. But I don't care. I work hard. This is the first place I've ever been where I've tried as hard as I can to be a good server. Like most of the times I've worked places, and like you said, you're comfortable. Like, I'm going to do a decent job. I'll walk out here with $100, $125.
Right.
If I walk out with $125, who gives a fuck? And I just realized, I was like, early on, I was like, man, if I work hard, if I hustle this place, if I do everything I can do, if I work as hard as I can to make the people happy, give them a good time. First of all, it's great to get a tip that you didn't expect. The one thing about working in a restaurant where you're getting 20% is you're getting 20%. You're rarely getting more. But if you are used to getting 7% and you get 20%.
I never worried about 20%.
I was like,
the only time that we were guaranteed a tip is on a party, like a corporate event.
Yeah, but
that wasn't even a, and honestly, that wasn't a tip.
I worked at this place. They thought they were like a 5-star, whatever.
Right.
And it was generally, you were going to get almost spot on 20%. I won't even say the name of the place because I don't want to promote it. And anyway, I hated it so much. We had an hour-long pre-shift meeting before every shift. We had to be perfectly clean shaven. We had to have our uniform pressed. We had to be we had to memorize the specials that were different every night before we walked out of the room. We had to have wine keys so we could do a wine presentation. It was the most miserable fucking job I've ever had. Everyone that worked there hated it. All they did was talk about how much they hated it. And we didn't even make great money. They acted like we were the luckiest people in the world to work at this place. You have no idea. You're making money. You're go right across the street to Fox and Hound. See if you make the kind of, and I'm like, we're not making that much more than the people at Fox and Hound. Or at Bricks. They had a Bricks pizza. They're like, go to Bricks. I'm like, we're really not making much more than the people at Bricks. Where I work now, I make fucking money, Jack. I fucking make money. Look, I got a son in college. I promised him that I was going to help him, pay for him to go through school. I worried even when I made the promise whether I was going to be able to keep it. I was like, God damn, I'm promising him a lot.
Right.
I ain't worried about it anymore. And I got a place. I was going to struggle to pay for him to go to college without having a place. And I will say this now, having a place. I'll say this to all my homeless brothers in the world. It is a great feeling to have a place. I used to be homeless living here. I used to live here and sleep at the fucking raceway after I fucking left here. Because I couldn't drive any further than that. And I didn't know where to go. I slept in my Jeep. I don't want to ever go back to that, man. I don't ever want to go. I love having a bed. I love having a shower. I love having a refrigerator. I love having a fucking hot pot where I can cook something. I like going to the store and not having to buy something that I'm going to eat in the parking lot. Man, I'm so happy with my little life and my little place and my, anybody else in the world would walk in there and be like, this is where you fucking live? This is a fucking shithole. Not to me, brother. It's a fucking paradise. It's a fucking paradise. I love it. And I'm never leaving there. I'm gonna live there for the rest of my fucking life. I love that fucking place. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if it anyone else. I don't care what anybody thinks of it. I fucking love it. I love where I live, and nobody knows where the fuck it is, so you can't fucking find me. And I like that too. I like nobody being able to fucking find me.
Oh man, someone will find you.
Yeah, eventually.
Someone will be like, I know that motherfucker.
Right.
Well, man, it's been 2 hours,
okay.
and I gotta eat some food.
Yeah.
I haven't even eaten yet.
Let's do it. You
Talking
want
about
to
juicy
do?
crap, man.
You want to do a wrap up?
Yeah, let's do a wrap up.
What should we do? I'm trying to think of something. Let's think. Let me take a quick glance, see if there's anything we can do quick. All right, well let's just finish with this because we don't talk about it enough. They're about to start making people wear masks. School is coming back into session.
I don't know
they're talking about here in Atlanta, where we're from. They're going to make the kids wear masks in school.
Right. Ooh, we might lose power. Shit.
All right.
Bam. Well, we're still
Masks, yes or no?
somewhere up here. Masks in school? No, hard pass.
All right.
I mean, I experienced it because my kids had to wear them all year, and it is super counterproductive. Not only was it counterproductive, there's no way it prevented disease in schools, especially amongst younger kids.
What about, you don't feel like with the new, because let me ask you this thing, because I don't think I've ever asked you. Maybe I have. I just don't remember because of El Toro. Are you vaccinated?
No.
Are you going to get vaccinated?
No.
Are your kids vaccinated?
No.
Are they going to get vaccinated?
The only way that they would get vaccinated is if it was mandatory, just like they having to get like the standard shots to go to school. That would be the only way, which they are pushing hard toward that right now. I mean,
Right.
There's just today, right here, California to require vaccine testing for state workers. New York is going to have people, police, fire, medical, all mandatory.
Are you remotely concerned about the Delta variant?
No, not even close.
Do you
Zero
feel like
chance.
it's made up, or is it because
No, I don't think it's made up at all. I don't think any of it's made up. I think it is a very real thing that is happening. I think that the what am I trying? Having a brain fart because it's raining. I'm like, the power's going to go out. But
it's not just raining a little, by the way.
yeah, no,
There's a monsoon. There's a monsoon.
A lot of rain coming down out there.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
I think my windows are down too.
Yeah, probably. You know, I mean, you get a clean Jeep.
Yeah, I used to tell people that.
I think that
So I wash my Jeep.
I don't know, circumstances. I don't think that many people are gonna die from it. I don't think that many people died from COVID.
Oh, so you think those numbers are skewed?
Yeah, I think that because when you look at how many people they say died from COVID versus other deaths that we normally have from disease, I think that the numbers are skewed. Like no one went, all right, we have 200,000 cases of COVID, 39,000 people died from COVID, 12,000 people died from the flu. There was no other statistic revolved around other diseases. Like people die every year from several diseases, but we just stopped talking about them. And they definitely, we know that they attributed certain deaths to COVID because of the financial gain and aid that they got by having COVID related patients. We know that. I don't think that the new COVID strains are going to be any more severe to majority of the population. Look, we're going to reach a certain point where we have herd immunity because everyone's been exposed to it. I don't care if you did not leave your home at all.
I think
you were exposed.
I think I've had.
You were exposed to some form of COVID.
I mean, I think it.
I know, like when you talk about making your kid wear a mask, dude, my kid would freaking pick up a mask off the floor of my car that he's worn 3 times, and he's got to have one to walk into school, and they'll give him one.
I asked my son, when I was like, so you wear a mask? And he's like, yeah, I wear a mask. And I'm like, well, what do you do with it when you're not wearing it? And he's like, I hang it from the rearview mirror of my car.
Right.
And I was like, well, do you take it inside and wash it? And he's like, no, you're supposed to wash it. He'd been wearing the exact same mask for 4 months.
Yeah, dude, look. So I don't think that it stopped. I think if anything, it made kids probably a little bit more susceptible to respiratory disease.
Right.
Because you're just breathing it.
Have you ever had to wear one on a long-term basis?
No.
I have to wear one at work. I choke on it all the time.
Yeah, like I couldn't breathe. There's
It's
no
awful.
way.
It's awful. People are like, why are you coughing? I'm like, I'm not coughing. I'm choking. And they're like, why are you choking? I'm like, because I'm wearing a fucking mask.
Yeah.
I can't breathe.
And then, you sanitize your hands. The kids sanitize stuff, I'm sure. But at the same time, you're touching things that could have infectious part of it. You touch the mask.
It's mostly airborne. It's really not surface. Part of the, when it first came out, the whole thing was don't touch your face. I don't know if you remember that phase.
I remember that, yeah.
But it was don't touch your face and constantly wash your hands, which I wash my hands as often as I can wash them. I mean, there's only so often I can fucking wash my hands.
Right.
I'm washing them all the fucking time. But it's airborne. And so what I try to do is, first of all, I've never been a person that likes to intimately talk to anybody anyway. I don't lean into people to fucking talk to them. Are we 6 feet apart? Maybe. I guess.
Maybe 4.5.
Whatever. But, I'm not spitting in your mouth. You're not spitting in mine. I do get kind of, when I'm drunk, I guess I get kind of.
You get a little spitty.
I get a little spitty.
Yeah.
But I also think that I believe I've already had it. In fact, I believe I've already had it twice. It was pretty not severe. Like there were 2 times where I was definitely sick with something. It never got bad. I was blowing mountains of mucus out of my mouth for like a day. And then that was it. That was the whole experience. And I was just like, man, I've had it. I didn't get tested. I didn't care. I was like, look, man, I try to be healthy. And I rinse my body out with alcohol all the time. That's what they say kills it.
Hey, man. I was definitely around it. Didn't bother me. My mom got it. She's all right. She's old. High risk. Right. She's fine. I don't know. I think the mask thing will fall flat on its face this year. Unless the only way they get away with it in making the kids wear them and all that shit is if they pound us in the next week or 2 with case numbers and death. I think it's going to take deaths because I think people are aware that case number does not equal death. Cases is like that person tested positive. Okay, well, they all right? Yeah, they didn't feel too good, but they're all right. Cool. Move on. And obviously you don't want it to spread, but we also know that it's out there and it's everywhere. It's not like, all right,
it's not going away. It's right there. We're not beating it. You know what I mean? Like
it's here.
You either live your fucking life. Live your life.
Live your life.
Some people
live free.
Some people die free.
Yeah.
Some people. No, some people are born free.
Born free.
I've tried to do this
You
a couple
tried
times,
to do it.
and the other day, and you guys told me, no, man, I'm gonna tell you.
Some people are born free. Some people live free.
No, some people are born free. Some people die free.
I mean, we can say however we want.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great freedom that we have. Hey, man, look, I want to say this to you. Good fucking show. I enjoyed this one more than I'm leaving here in a far more recognizable state than I ever have. And I enjoyed it very much. I hope the Miller Lite will be an acceptable part of the show. I hope that you people that watched enjoyed it. I don't connect very well to people. I'm going to try to start connecting to you all. I hope that you enjoyed what we do. It means the world to me. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for listening to what we do. I appreciate it.
There you go, man. If you enjoy the show, hit the like button or subscribe to the channel and give us some ideas to talk about in the comments on the clips for sure. And we'll be back. We'll be back again. I don't know what day, but whenever Marshall's done working and I'm done working and we got nothing else better to do than come talk to you guys. We'll be back here.
Thank
you. Yeah, man. I'm going to go feed some kids, feed myself, and get ready for the shit show that is Tuesday.
You too. Oh, man. Like
so we'll see y'all later. I know look, I'm not going to bed at 3 a.m. It's brilliant.
Nice.
Brilliant. See you later.